2:15?
2:15.
Okay, I'll see you every half hour till 6:15. Let me know when we're live.
Yep. So I'm just about to hit the button now, and then I'll let you know when I actually see it on YouTube because there's a delay.
All right.
All right, amazing. We're live.
Hey, how are you? Dobar dan, kako ste? Translated, that means good day, how are you? And my name is Rick Smiciklas. This is live stream number 11. It's sort of an episode I really wanted to do for a long time, and just educate people about Croatian culture, what it's like to be Croatian, and how we eat, and what our value system is. And yeah, it was a long way to get here today. I've been in production for almost 10 years and never have had headaches like dealing with this noisy fridge here. And I hope it doesn't affect the quality of the video. If it does, I apologize. We are going to get it fixed. Basically, what's happening is I'm going to have to bring in a contractor because it's built into the wall. And as Croatians, we just have to laugh about these things. So I got to empty the fridge, which was part one. I did that today. This is the way we do it. I guess fruštik and the way it works in Hrvatska or Croatia is, you always have a big late lunch. And, they work from 6 to 2 generally. So this would be the time that 2:20 their time, that they would have a meal. And we'd always eat light. I went back for 13 summers in a row when I was a kid, and I was there 3.5 months. And this is the stuff I remember. And, it's not authentic Croatian because I didn't have time. However, I did something really, really cool. My father was from Žumberak Mountains, and we didn't know if it was Serbia and Croatia because it was former Yugoslavia, so we didn't really follow the politics. But Serbian cevape are my favorite, and that's what I made earlier. They're not here right now because I'm marinating them overnight. And I remember my first memory as a kid was my dad would get the charcoal barbecue and the briquettes, and then he'd be wearing his brown shorts, black socks, sandals, and the white muscle shirt, and he'd be feeding me these cevaps, which he made them differently, and I'm going to try to make them that way. The way he made them wasn't like in a funnel, like a sausage. He made them thick, and there was a lot of onion in there, and that's what I remember was the onions. So I diced a bunch of onions up. I have them all ready. I marinated them, and I added a couple other things that he might have been missing because we didn't have much money back then, so everything was enjoy every bite, and we did that. And this is what I remember. He'd always have a knife, He'd tell my mother, daj mi nož, daj mi nož. So he'd always have a knife. And what he would do when he was making the cevaps was he didn't even let them finish. Like, he knew the parts that were cooked on the end, so he'd cut them. And he would just basically, take them like this. And then he says, ukus, uzmi malo. So we were taught to savor every bite and every memory. And what's interesting, when he passed away in 2009, I made my way back up to the Jumbrak Mountains like it was nothing. Nobody took me. I drove myself. I knew everything where the house was. But the house over years came down, and there was a little hobbit home just before you got to my mom's. Sorry, my dad's. And the people came out, and I asked, do you know where Familia Smiciklas lives? And yeah, she said, it's up the hill, but the house is gone. So I'm like wondering, and then I see something, and it's a gentleman walking from a distance up the hill mountain road with a German Shepherd. And I'm looking, I go, that's my father. Like, it looks exactly like my father. And when he came up, I go, my father passed away. You look exactly like him. I go, do you know Nicolas Michiklas? And he goes, yeah, that was my friend. So I go, who are you? He goes, I live in France. And that's why I'm mentioning this, because this cheese is a soft French cheese. And that's the memory I have now when I have this cheese of that man from France that gave me hope that my father might be alive, and he spoke so kindly of my father. And what happened was it was surreal for me that I seen this, and then I went up, look for the house, and then I couldn't find it. And so I went back years later and I filmed a movie, and I remembered everything again, like it was nothing. You know, the white church on the hill, you know, how he escaped to Slovenia and made his way to Austria and then to Canada by boat in 1956. So I remember that. And, you know, I remember growing up there, like it was 3.5 months a year, you know, with the wild boars. And then I had a teta yella there. And then I cracked all the eggs into my chavaps, but we'd mix up the words, and I'd see tetayella. Sometimes there'd be no eggs left because we'd eat them all, and I'd say tetayella nema parking o frigideiro. So all the words are mixed up. Translated, that means you know, there's lots of room, like parking, you know, in the fridge for more eggs. So great memories and great cheese. And I'm going to get into a couple other things here. I'm going to keep it rolling. And that's good. So the big thing with Croatian food, slano, which means salty. And that's a very salty cheese. So to cut that off, what you do is you have something sweet. So this is what I really like is fig jam. So it's from Dalmatia, and my mother's from Dalmatia, Split. And so this is the way we grew up: charcuterie boards, light, and then at night heavy, puno meso, which means lots of meat. I love it. What a balance. So the next thing that I remember was puno pashtete, which means lots of pâtés. So pashteta is something to behold of if you can do it right. And I couldn't get the right kind here. However, I got this from a special trout farm in just north of here in a small town. And this is a smoked trout pate. And I go anywhere I can to get this if it's in stock. So I'm going to savor this, and that's the way food should be. I never got a chance to savor food because I was always too busy, and I didn't have anyone to prepare. And today, preparing all this stuff took me 3 hours, 3 garbage bags, and 300 problems. But I'm enjoying it, and I'm glad I can share this with you. And here we go. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. That's so good. So that means I got to go back to something sweet. And we have something sweet that we like a lot, and that is walnuts, which are oraje. And I remember cracking the walnuts as a kid. We had the whole thing, and we'd put the oraje with honey into something called baklava. And my mother made it the best and crispy. And I like to dip the walnuts in honey. This is actually a lavender honey, and it's something to behold of. So that's that. And we're going to go into a different area here. My father loves smelts and anchovies. And when you're in Croatia, it's the best seafood. They have branzino, rata. You know, that's basically a sea bass. And one of my favorite things is the fish there, narostil, which means on fire, and grilled and charred. Very simple. Three things: olive oil, a bit of salt and pepper, and that's it. And I have these things here, and we are famous in Istria for some of the best olive oils. People don't know that, and of course the truffle. So much going on there, and I love that. I actually love the anchovies. Portugal has the best anchovies. They have these white ones, very hard to get. I think maybe one place here in Ontario, Canada, has them, and I get them when I can. However, these are good. They've dried out a bit because they've been out for about an hour. So I took them out of the oil. So what I did is I took all the oils from these foods and I added it to my krumpir, which is French fries. And my mother would make me the best fries, but I would always tell her to make me these ones. And my pommes frites stories in Slovenia, which is not Croatia, are some of my favorite memories. I had a teta, which means an aunt, and I never forget this lady. Always smiling, always happy, and she had a silver Volkswagen. It was like maybe 1975, and all the hills there in Turbovia, I don't know. I'm going to maybe look it up one day, and I'm going to go back. I went there, and at the side of the road, there was a vendor selling pommes frites, which is French fries, and all they gave you was some aioli mayo dip, and I made this dip here. I added a bit of white peppercorn, just because I have lots of spices you can't see here right now. But yeah, variety is the spice of life, I say, and that's how we are. In Croatian, I always say ima puno ukus, which means it has lots of flavor. And I missed a step. I apologize. This is sir. Why I picked this one? It's a smoked Gouda because we had a smokehouse in our actual home in, as my relatives would say, Ukanadi. And imagine that. You're 2, 3 years old, and you've got all these meats in your home hanging underneath your bedroom, and you can smell the smoke all night, and you think, as a kid, like, oh my God, is the house going to burn down? Is the house going to burn down? And one of my dad's favorite things was my uncle was a butcher. So, svinyatina, which is a pig, they'd bring the pigs there to the house. And I'll get into that a bit later. And then, we'd cut it to pieces, and then they would do a shunka. And shunka is prosciutto, which is a smoked prosciutto or ham. And I have a smoked prosciutto here, and yeah, people think it's an Italian thing, but no, it's all around. But when you do it smoked, there's just something so much better and amazing. So good. You remember, my dad always, dami shunku, dami shunku. And, it's funny things, how food, it's so underappreciated. And I haven't had a chance to. I've been so busy in my life, and I had so many obstacles, and I just really never knew how to enjoy. And I am today. It's rare, and you have to make the most of these opportunities. So, as that is a bit salty, I'm going to get these fig crackers, and I'm going to have my favorite, the jam, of course. And that's because I love my mom. She passed away, but when you talk about the Dalmatian coast and Dubrovnik, one of the greatest things you'll see in your life is when you drive down. I guess there's a bridge there now you can cross. It used to go from Split to Bosnia, and then you show your passport, and then you're back in Croatia again. However, when you get across that border, they have these fruit stands at the side of the road with these chilled fruits and chilled drinks. So here's an example of a drink you just can't get anywhere, and it's amazing. Like a strawberry juice that is so fresh and invigorating. And if you see the fruits that they have there, it's unbelievable. But Dalmatia is known for figs, Dalmatian figs. And another thing too, people don't realize, the dog Dalmatian, that's what it is. It's a Croatian Dalmatian, and people don't know these things. And yeah, you got to just look at it. Like, my memory of a dog is at my aunt's. I fell in love with a dog. The dog's name, get this, was Meadow, which means honey. And it was some type of golden dog. And wouldn't you know it, I have a golden dog now that I can't live without. And, I never wanted to leave that dog Meadow. And it just gave me such love and warmth, that honey. And I'm going to have a bit of honey now. ASMR. How did that happen? That's crunchy. I'm going to keep the crunch on with a bit of Meadow. Wow. Okay. Let's get this mosquito out of here. And translated, that is, I don't know how to say mua, or actually muyo is a jackass. And my father, Dojo of the Muyo, which that was my nickname growing up, jackass. So then how I got rid of that name was my friends would come over and they were crazier than I was. And my dad would say, Koyo by Muyo. And it's funny, this guy Muyo, Dave, he commented on our page. I haven't seen him in years, but I remember one night he imitated me quite a bit, and I wore cowboy boots and jeans, and we got completely hammered, and he stayed at our place, but he went in our basement, and I guess it's cold in Canada, and we had a glass coffee table, and I don't know what happened because I was just as pian, which means drunk. So I'm in the comforts of my own bed, krevet, and my father comes in the room and he says, "Koi ove muyo." Okay, so I go, what is he talking about? So muyo, what he did was, it was so cold, he grabbed all the drapes in the basement with the hooks, and he wrapped himself under the glass table, and all that was sticking out was his stupid cowboy boots. And yeah, that is why he got that name. And what's interesting is, I'm not just making this stuff up. On my website, Muyo was at my dad and my birthday, and there's a picture of the three of us, celebrating. And my dad used to really like to celebrate and drink. And I'm looking here at this, and why this is interesting is that's called a bachva, which is a barrel. And I wouldn't have even noticed this. I have it here today, but the damn fridge is making these noises. So I'm doing everything I can. And what do? I'm cleaning the top of the fridge. And I see this is the last thing. And I go, it's here for a reason. And it's to talk about, a barrel, a bachva. So we had different names for uncles. And one of my uncles was, Streets John, Yanko. And he had a bit of a barrel stomach, so they would call him Bachva. And they would call my dad, Castro, like Fidel Castro, because he had the beard. And, but anyway, why the barrel is important, I grew up with that. I mentioned the smokehouse. Now you're going to talk about the barrels. There were so many barrels at our house. So a typical Saturday morning for me was go buy the grapes and make the juice, and then the wine press, and then the barrel. So we'd have barrels and barrels of wine. And every night, he'd have his wine, which reminds me, I don't want this to get too warm. This is my wine of choice. It's black currant juice. And if you get this stuff and it's done right, there's nothing tastier. So I just made this on the fly, but it's my alcohol. I haven't drank in 30 years, and as they say in our culture, živjeli, and that means, how they say, chandan, may you live 100 years, and ours is živjeli, like live and let live, and živjeli. You got to know that's good. Usually somebody has a sip when they're on camera. I can't stop drinking this stuff. Opasno, which means it's dangerous. So one of the times I really fell in love as a 12-year-old was we went to the Kalnik Mountains, and beautiful mountain and touristy. and they had these folk dancers. And I remember under a tree, beautiful setting, they were serving this, black currant juice. And I didn't know what the name was. And for years, it was bothering me, for years. And I was trying to figure it out. But what happened, you usually have triggers, is I'm watching the dance and I didn't want to go. They're in these beautiful white dresses and white outfits, all these girls, and they're dancing and celebrating. And I seen this one girl and I'm like in love. And I'm like, I can't even think, because what happened, I left Canada there in 75 and I fell in love with my first Canadian girl, which I've talked about. Her name was Michelle. And I didn't want to go to Croatia. And well, it was, former Yugoslavia. And because I was in love, and, you think, oh, I can't leave Michelle, my little one. There was a song called Seasons in the Sun. So what happens is I leave, and my father says, dai mi uho, which means give me the ear. I'm going to pull you by the ear there. And so what happens, you get over it. And then just as I got over the one girl, I fall in love with the next. And yeah, it was amazing. And it was just like, I didn't want to leave her. But what I take from it is this, let me speak about that memory. And yeah, it's good to dream. All right, so let's keep the party going. My hands are sticky, all that honey. That's okay, because we're having some fun. Good stuff here is we have our knife. I did bring a fork, a spoon, and a knife. But you know what I'm going to have? I'm going to have, a lot of history with the Russians and Yugoslavia. And what we have here is Russian caviar. And, a lot of the same tastes. And what we call it is Ruski caviar. So I'm going to have a bit of this Ruski caviar. And good. Overrated, but good. In Russia, they like tea, and same thing back home. So they have these Russian tea rooms, and they serve this in New York. So that was probably the only time I might have had it in a restaurant here. And yeah, it reminds me of New York, which is a foodie town. And yeah. So getting back to something sweet, we have these, wafers there. They're very light, and it's by Crash. And it's a big company, just like Vigetta. And I'm saying, wait, I'm Canadian. What am I talking about? That's how much I feel Croatian here. Hey, Dan. So we're going to just switch the camera every 30 minutes here. And Dan, how you making out?
Doing great.
Good, good. So yeah, this is filmmaking. I'm shooting these live with a knife in my hand and a wafer. But I'm going to tell you something. I'm loving it. Filmmaking is what I aspired to do. I had a reality show. People wanted my life rights and story, and I never gave those up. But in the end, being stubborn sometimes is no good. And in Croatian, they say tvrdoglava, and that means, you got a hard head. And so I kept going after I sold my restaurant business. And I just figured, you know what? You got to do what you love and follow your dream. And even if it means losing everything and starting all over again, because I think I could start all over again. I'm going to give this a year. And what I'm doing, why I mentioned the gentleman coming through, is we're actually going to document everything for a year live and then cut them into videos, which probably has never been done. And that's what's called a blue ocean strategy, where you're doing something different. And we just started a month ago exactly, and we're going to give it a year. However, you can see how good I feel and how inspired I am that we're supposed to do this episode in honor of National Croatian Independence Day, which was June 25th, 1991, and air it then. However, I said, why don't we just open another playlist and we'll just do a tribute to Croatia for at least 20, 30 videos, and then people can get, small tastes like I'm getting right now of what it's like and what's the culture. And there's so much you need to know about it. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm looking out the window here, and a lot of times in Croatia, people don't leave two windows open because it's called a promaja, and that's a draft, and it is taboo. So, it's just a crazy way. It's a generous culture. It's an amazing culture, and we all have these dreams. And one of my dreams is, I just turned 61 last week. By the time I'm 71, I'm going to take a little holiday, which I probably have never done. I did go to Croatia, but it was to pay respects to my father. I did a movie, so I never really got to really enjoy myself there. Now, another problem I had is I never liked flying. And a lot of reasons were because, my dad had that fear of flying. We had a crash landing when I was 2 years old coming back from, I guess, Yugoslavia. And I didn't know, but I was always wondering why my dad is so pijan, which means drunk, getting on the plane, and he'd be paying everybody off. And yeah, so to me, it's like, okay, I'm kind of over that fear of flying. And it's like, okay, now it's like, maybe I can have that holiday with a nice woman one day that I love. I've never been married, and now my daughter is getting married next month, and it's actually less than a month. It's just over 3 weeks, and then it's when one door closes, another opens, and it's funny because 25th is Croatian Independence Day. And it's funny, my daughter's 25 and she's going to be independent. And, we were always taught, to love our kids first. And people would say, imaš dobru čerku, which means you have a good daughter. And I'd correct them. I'd say, no, I have a great daughter and I love her. And, these kids have it tough nowadays. And I would tell her or any other kid, just, follow your dreams, follow your heart. You know what? Make every minute count. Learn to laugh at yourself when things go bad. Everything's temporary. It's going to pass. And you know what? Have a goal. Like mine's a simple goal. When I opened my restaurants, it was a simple goal. Open 100 restaurants. Okay, I did it with $100. So to me, it's like, okay, now I'm starting these videos and thinking, okay, I got to do 10 years of this because people aren't as giving, unfortunately, as they used to be. And, to build an audience and subscribers, and it's just not the way it was. And so I'm up against it. I don't have big goals with this. It's basically to turn it into just a brand or a trademark and sell nice food experiences and sauces, and wherever it goes, it goes. I mean, I'm not worried. Maybe I could be a food guy like Guy Fieri, which leads me to what I'm doing to the next episode, which I was preparing the chavaps, and the legendary Anthony Bourdain was born June 25th, and unbelievably, that is Croatian National Independence Day, and we're going to honor him with chavaps because when he went to Croatia, he had everything but the chavaps. And what's crazy also is I have this mosquito back, which is normal back in, the old country. Those things are everywhere. But guess who else's birthday it is? And you can't see it on my board right now. If I move everything, it says Ricky, which is what my family would call me because they only knew, like I was Richard, but they only knew Ricky Ricardo from I Love Lucy. So that's how I got that name, and then it somehow became Rick. But I do this TV show, which is kind of like The Office. It was about my life and my office. And, Croatians have a good sense of humor. They like to laugh at themselves. But what office show in Europe was the best? It was with Ricky Gervais. And he is born June 25th. So here's my thing. He is an amazing guy. I met him. Lucky, I met him. And, he is against animal cruelty, which I am 100% behind him. But I don't really know, and I don't want to offend anyone. Is he eat fish or is he vegan? I don't know. So what I did is I made some fish, which is sea bass and branzino, and I'll have that in his honor. And I don't know about the fries, but I made sweet potato fries, and then we have some potato here. So my mother would always say to me, Yedi Krumpir. And my name growing up, because I used to like to swim in the Adriatic, the salt water, and the waves were called wallaby. I mean, those waves were so high. And, I remember that. And I remember the fish. And that was my name, Fish. So I'm going to do a bit of that. And quick story what happened to me when I was a kid there. I might have been 7, 8 years old. And my mother is from area near Trogir and Split. So what happened? We're on the beach there. I'm in the water. All of a sudden, boom! This big rock hits me in the head. Some kid threw it. And lady, the mother's freaking out. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. I'll buy your son anything. I'll buy your son anything. Like, let me take him to that store across. He can pick anything he wants. My father, nope. Like, that's who he was. He was firm. He's going to be okay. And my father, that's the way he taught me. Don't take nothing from no one, and you won't owe anybody nothing. And so funny stuff. But what I was missing, I'm going back on, is the barrel. I'd make the homemade wine with my dad, and then he would joke with his brothers, who had the best wine. And there was 8 brothers and sisters that he brought over. He was the first. And then they would get so drunk. It was normal back then. And then they would bash each other's wine. So they talk about the wine. It's like sami shecher, which means it's all sugar. So no sugar tonight for me. I'm going to have a bite. And all this stuff dries up. And a bit of wafer. Good stuff. So yeah, these potatoes, sweet potato, these are in honor of Ricky Gervais. Let's see what we got. Because where he is, in England there, same thing. They have these pommes frites, Belgium, and Belgian frites. It's a typical thing with aioli. You know what? That's not bad. I made sure that I didn't really put much dairy in here. There's some spices. It's good. I never thought that I'd be still eating these things. They're good. Oh, Ricky, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Ricky. Ricky, I love what he does for animals, and I wish more people cared because I have a sign right here, dogs are people too. And I love my dog more than anything other than my grandson and my daughter. And I didn't want to screw this production up today because the dog gets a little antsy around food. I will bring the dog out later. And without her, I'd be finished. She gives me a purpose. And that's why I respect anybody that cares about animals. And same here in this country. Pamela Anderson, her birthday's coming up July 1st, and it's Canada Day. And I'm going to try to do something in her honor. And I won't make a mess like I just did. That's really good. I can't believe that I'm liking these sweet potatoes. You know, my mother probably gave me these growing up, you know, because I remember the color. I just didn't know what it was. A lot of the food experiences, I don't know, like, you know, how she knew how to make all these things. Like it was, you know, we have these things called mlince, and then we have, the big one is sarma. And there was lots of sarma always, which is the cabbage rolls. And yeah, you know, like, are we eating this again? And then, you know, I always remember her beating the veal cutlets on the table. And, you know, white tablecloth. And that was it. That was our time. All the food, all the mosquitoes. And my father would sit there and he'd just look at me. Siedi I yedi. It means sit and eat. And then if he got into the wine a little quicker, siedi I shuti, which means sit down and shut up and don't move till you lick the plate clean. And that's how it was. So we had always a fresh salad that he would plant there with the tomatoes. And I'm going to get to the tomatoes in a second. Yeah, so the salad, we'd leave the bowl in the middle of the table and then we'd all eat out of that one bowl. It was just the thing to do back then. And what I do remember most, you know, lots of fruit always. See the blueberry? And, well, you know, different, different stuff. I'm going to have this cheese because it's that good. And then I'm going to do something, what I was just talking about. The tomato. This is how we would have the tomato. It's just a simple, simple thing. Puno sol. That's it. Sometimes a touch of olive oil, just a touch. And that was it. So then you get this, and I don't remember the last time I had a good tomato. So good when it's done on its own. So good. So good. I put too much salt on there, but that's fine. So what we would also have were always beautiful French breads, which is cru, frischki cru. Always, always, when I was back home, my baka, grandmother, she'd go to the market 4:30 every morning, and I don't know how this happened back then. But the bread seemed like it was warm all day and soft and warm and delicious. And do we have that here? Like, and then what we had there was putar, which is butter. So it was always puno putra. So, and there you go, lots of butter. It's really, really flavorful this way. I'm not gonna load up on it. But what I'm going to do is, we would always, like this, soak everything up, the salt. So basically now you've got a salted butter and a bit of tomato. And this is the way we ate. Like, I haven't even brought my spoon, knife, or fork out yet, and we're almost an hour into this. And what should I do? The bread. That's what I'll do. Unbelievable. These are the moves, one after the other. Then, you can always do a bit of this, because it's got salt in the butter. Try this guy out instead of the cracker. Why am I loving this? So, I've been saying so a lot, so I apologize. Get it? Sewing, my aunt was a seamstress there, and she would always make, her name was Maria, Teta Maria, and she was my mom's sister. My mom's side is still there, and Križevci, the family, which is near Zagreb. But yeah, she would always make all these different types of things with oraje, which are, the walnuts that I mentioned earlier. And then there'd be all these roasted honey nuts, cashews, and that was it. Fruits, nuts, spices. And Teta Maria was amazing. She was amazing. What's amazing too is I'm looking at this stuff. I'm never going to get full, and I'm going to keep talking. And that's how it is. When you have dobro društvo, which means you have good friends, a good family, you can sit there for 4 or 5 hours. I don't drink, however, but that's how the culture is there. They would just drink the homemade wine. They would have all these different varieties of meats and cheeses and jams and pâtés and you name it. A potato. They would never get full, and they would just keep going. And it would fuel them, and they get energy. And I'm getting a lot of energy. And maybe I'm just going to wash my hands and head straight to the airport and catch the next flight there. That's how energetic I am. Unfortunately, I can't leave my dog. So, I should get into the fish. So I'm going to wash my hands so I can break out the fork. We're going to makni bachvu, which means we're going to move the barrel. So I just washed up, and I just noticed something out the window. We have a saying, well, there's a saying back there, kisha pada trava raste. So this morning, we have a guy that does the lawn here. So every week he comes, and it's always when we're going to turn on the camera, so you're going to hear the noise. So he leaves, and I look, and the grass is not cut. So now it's high, like in a week it's high. And what they do is, they told me last week, oh, you got to get the dog poop cleaned up. So I wasn't here, and this lady said, oh, can my boyfriend work? And I said, yeah, I don't have much. I got to hire a dog service to clean this so they can cut the grass. So I left, and I gave them $100 each for a few hours, and I figured they text me early. Oh, everything's done. We owe you some money. Okay, if you owe me the money, why wouldn't you have left it here if I paid you in advance? But neither here or there. I wish them well. So what happens today is I figured that's cleaned up. I don't really go back there. And yeah, I guess they didn't cut the grass because those guys never cleaned up the poop. So my mother would always say to me, Sami Drek, which means the same shit every day. And that's what it's like. You gotta laugh about it. So, you know, Yedi Drek, which means eat shit. I guess, you know, you got to take the good with the bad. So that's what my day's going to be like. I got to deal with that. But anyway, živeli. Usually when a drink is over ice like this for a while, it just gets worse and worse and watery. And this is actually getting better because it's breaking down the mixture, which is called ribena, which is, I guess it's a UK drink that does the black currant. And I think it's quite fascinating that it's holding this long. Oh, that's really, really good. And it's hot here. I know it looks like it's going to rain. It is going to rain. And we're going to just keep rolling here, as they say. I'm going to go with the fish, like my mother used to call me. So let's see what we got here. I think that this was made maybe an hour and a half ago. And I just used a couple simple things. Olive oil, salt and pepper, that's all you need. And I actually did it in a lard, cooked it in a lard. And there's a reason why I did that. My favorite aunt was Teta Tonka. And my favorite ever meal back home, aside from the pommes which was in Trbovlje in Slovenia, was going to my Teta Tonkas in Križevci, and she would make me jaje na mast, which means eggs over easy on lard. And yeah, so in her honor, I did this in a bit of lard, which, wow, really good. Really good. Sea bass. So they have a joke here, because I've been just saying all the Croatian stuff. So if I do ever get one viewer from back home, they say, you know, we're going to kick your ass, sea bass. And sea bass, here we go. And you know what? I like the sea bass with the bone in and the salty bones. This is deboned because we're apparently trying to film a show, and that's the last thing you guys need to see is me picking the bones out of something. I really like the skin, and back home we would do it narostil, like which I mentioned earlier is charred, and but this is good. You can really taste the quality of this, and you can see I got lots of lemon, and it's that good that I'm going to actually finish it all, because this other stuff, sort of like an appetizer, and the knife, should I or shouldn't I? Nah, you know what? I'll go with the one that can actually penetrate the skin. Some people don't like the skin. I love the skin. That's part of my dream is to go back and have the fish. I remember one fish dinner I had there. It was just weird. Like when I travel, I like to always go alone, except the last time I went, it was for work. Because, you can go to these different places and experience different things. And I was just driving and I ended up, I don't even know the town. It was picturesque. It was before Dubrovnik. And I stopped at the side of the port and I had the best fish ever. And, you're thinking, what was that, 2009? You don't have a camera maybe back then. You don't have the way to remind yourself where that place was. But, I don't have too many regrets, but I regret not remember what that place is. So I want to go back and have that same feeling. Wow, I'm back to the tomato. And it's good. This one's a little juicier because it's in the oil. And this is crazy, but it actually does happen. My friend, Mile Božičković, the guy was a drill sergeant in the Serbian army. And, he came to Canada, and he would actually grab the onion and just eat it raw. And, we'd always say, dami luk, which, give me the onion. So, only person I've been kissing has been my dog. So, if I have this, I don't think she'll be too offended. So, I'm going to have some luk, some raw onions. Oh, just another underappreciated thing. I think the best two basketball players are Nikola Jokic and Luka Doncic. And why I'm saying that, he played for Dallas. They lost to Boston last night. But Slovenia crossed the border. So growing up, and we had these onions and all that stuff, it's funny that which one am I going to choose? And as a kid, I remember, daj mi Luka. So I know that Jokic might be a bit better, but daj mi Luka, which is me trying to be funny here. Yeah, the Luke is good. It's one shot. That's all it's going to be. So fish is riba, and I keep eating it. I mean, it's not hot, it's not charred, but it's good. It's really, really good. It's really, really good. How you doing?
Doing well. I'll switch out a battery just to be safe.
What are we, an hour or two now?
Oh, we're an hour.
Oh, an hour. All right, so it's 9:15 in the old country.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, so it's funny. I've been talking. I haven't ate that much, so I'm really enjoying this episode.
That's great. Perfect.
Yeah, I haven't enjoyed myself this much in a long, long time. And what am I going to do with all this stuff? Oh, those anchovies, so salty, beautiful. And slana riba, which is translated to me. I had a lot of friends that were from, Serbia, Montenegro, you name it, and everybody had different dialects. But one thing that didn't change, I was the youngest and I was the craziest. And they'd always say to me, Koyo va riba. So they would call the hot girls riba, which is fish. And I'm thinking, all right. And then for my mom, she was funny. I don't know what happened, but it just didn't stop. We have an addictive personality, and whether it's anything, eating, laughing, drinking, but I was not proud of it, addicted to, alcohol, different women every night, and sometimes you lower your standards. And my mother loved me, but I'd bring the girls home, and you're not supposed to do that. And then my mother would come in, Koyova krava, Koyova krava, and which means, who is this cow? So what happened was, my mother didn't realize that the girl was from our country, Vera, and Vera says to my mother, "Izvini, gospođa, ja razumiem sve." So my mother is like, oh my God, she understands everything. And then my mother right away, like, Vera understood and was good about it. And that's how it is. You can say anything back in that country to anyone and they forgive each other. Here, everybody's just so sensitive. So my mother right away, El pushish, which do you smoke? And she said, yeah, idemo na fajfu, which means let's go for a smoke. And that's how things were dealt with back then. And I'm thinking to myself, this is amazing, Koyova krava. And I would joke because there'd be a song there, Kobila Suzi, Stalno se pračka po guzi. So what that is, it's a cow named Susie who was always scratching her ass. So my mother came over once. She knew I liked things clean, and she always wanted to see me, and I always had iron shirts, and that stopped over the last few years because I've been by myself, and all of a sudden it's a Sunday morning, and I was working late, and I was with a beautiful girl, and I didn't know what to do because I lived in the top floor of an apartment. My mother came up and she had the key, and I'm like, all right, I got a girl, I don't know what to do, so I just threw her in the closet. And then my mother's coming in, in the closet. Let me hang the shirts in the closet. But I realize the girl's in the closet, and I'm like, yeah, true, I'll do it. And so now you don't know what to do. And I never had much food in any of my fridges, but I remember I had a lot of chocolate and eggs. And finally I said, Ma, kobila Suzie, who, the girl's in the closet. She says, let her out, I'm going to cook her breakfast. So what did she make her in my fridge? Yaye, which is eggs. And then she knew as a kid I liked chocolate, so she would melt the chocolate over the eggs. So we had these eggs with chocolate, and next thing you know, do you smoke, my mother? And she says, yeah. And now my mother's friends with her. She made friends with everybody, and I'm trying to get rid of her. And that's how it is. It's when you have these type of parents. My father was the same way, and you can talk about it, you can laugh about it, and that's how time goes. The art of conversation and comedy it doesn't exist really that much no more. And everybody takes themselves too serious. And I wish it wasn't like that. But unfortunately, the world's changing. You have to adapt and make the best of it. What I'm getting at, things were a lot more acceptable and looser. And what's not looser is this shunka, because it's starting to dry up because it's been out. But thank God I got a bit of oil to preserve it. And it's kind of funny because shunka is dry cured ham. So the more cures, the more curls. And that's what's happening here. And now, because this episode is about translation, I don't know how that happened. It's like žvakačka guma, which means it's like chewing gum. So it's going to have to mean the dog's going to come out, and because it's going to start raining, and I'm not going to be able to eat that much more. So let me just grab the pas, the dog, and excuse me for jednu minutu, which is 1 minute. I can't believe I'm full. Dad, my mic fell off.
Oh, your mic fell off?
Yeah, it got caught in the door here.
Oh, okay.
It just broke.
Yeah, we can take it back up.
Yeah, no, it's just, they always get caught in the door.
Master bedroom door open.
Should we do it?
You see
I'll
this?
just do the
Yeah,
pot.
see what happens? It gets caught in these different things.
How are you doing? Is it going through your shirt?
Yeah, let's show these people how this is done. Yeah, because having a great episode, and there's no microphone, and hey, yeah, I got caught in the door there.
I think that should be good. Here, I'm going to throw headphones on, so just talk a little bit, and I want to see if I can hear you clearly.
Test, test, test.
Sorry, one sec.
Test, test, test.
One more time.
Test, test, test.
Perfect. Great.
So let me tell you what happened there.
Oh, and do one more button up. I can see.
Oh, so
the wire.
you guys are behind the scenes here, and I said you're going to see me jedna minuta, which is 1 minute. And what happened is I opened the door, and the door handle got caught on this wire, and it knocked the mic out. So this is, you know, the cost of doing business in film and TV. And that's business. It comes at all costs. So, which reminds me, this belt, I just bought it because I did lose a bit of weight and my pants were falling off in one of the episodes. So now I realized my belt's all over the place, which is remen. And my father, when it came to the remen, would always have his belt and it would have the metal around it. And he'd sit there at the table and he'd undo it. And then he'd just have the metal part. And you're going to get it with the hard part of the remen, which is the belt. So he'd always say, ochish remen, which people don't understand what that is. But do you want the belt? So it's not you're getting the belt. You're getting the belt buckle. And girly, si gladna, kako si? Dobro? Dođi ovde. My baby is coming to join us, and ona je dobra curica, which means she's a good girl. Right, girlie? Come. Jel si gladna? si lepa. Ona sodmara, which means this is crazy. I had to time her out because I didn't want to ruin this production, and you can't see her now, but she's going to come over. She just needs, it's a hot one here. Our air conditioning broke, and she just got to regulate a bit, and then she's going to come eat because I can't eat all this stuff. And yeah, we're going to see what she thinks of it. So what am I missing here? I had the bread. I had the fries. Oh, last thing. Last thing is, this is the last thing. We would always have these hot mustards and beets, and we would have the, well, we had the ivar, which I made today, which is roasted red pepper and eggplant, like it's a spread. So I'm going to have that in the episode. And then kaimak, which is actually a clotted cream that goes with the cevape. And then what else was there? Something that is called ren, which is horseradish. There was a lot of horseradish. And I guess the cuisine in former Yugoslavia or Serbia, Croatia, Montenegro is inspired by the Ottoman Empire, Austria, Hungary. And I remember going to kid. It's kind of crazy. You think of it now, they're all so close. Like where my dad was in the mountains, they were close to Slovenia. And, you know, Križevci, and there's a place called Koprivnica is near Hungary, which is, you know, to the east. And, you know, Austria and Slovenia were to the north. But right beside us, it's hard to believe because you're probably listening to a lot of these words, and was Italy. And even more, I'm thinking, okay, Istria is where the best truffles are, and I really enjoy truffles, and that's where I'm going to go again next time, to Istria. Hopefully, now when I go back, that's where some of the best foods are, and that was formerly Italy, but I guess our little powerful country there claimed it. I don't know when, but yeah, that's the connection to Italy. And then, yeah, you look at the bottom, you know, we were split between Bosnia Herzegovina, and then, you know, you cut through the border and you're back in Croatia. And next thing you know, you're in Montenegro. It's fascinating, the history of these places. And what's not fascinating is I haven't finished this fish, and I should. Good to the last bite. So now I've just cleared up some room, and I didn't get a chance to use these guys, so which is funny because you know, growing up this way, it's you're always taught to save. Samo šparaj, which means just keep saving, and I never saved nothing, and I regret it. And yeah, but you see a country in such excesses with food and all that stuff, and then, you know, it's kind of funny on the other side. Like they'll give you anything, you go over there, and just like you don't know where they get the money. Do they have jobs? How do they afford it? But they'll never miss out on sharing a meal. And I don't even know what I'm doing here, but this is what I'm going to do. This is what I remember was these hot mustards. And the way I would eat fries as a kid was back then was with mustard. Like it wasn't ketchup originally. And yeah, because sometimes we couldn't afford meats. And, you know, we'd have the fries, and then we'd always have these mustards. And, oh, the mustards, right when you have the mustard, you're thinking right away, go back to this guy, which is the prosciutto, shunka. But it's good with the fries. I can't believe I'm getting full from this. You know, back to the cheese. So creamy, so gooey. Some Gouda. I'm not going to be able to make it. Maybe an hour and a half into this food, and I can't do anymore. I'm going to maybe give some to the dog. I'm going to get rid of the potatoes because they're more filling. And I might end it with a story or two about the last time I went to a place called Pag. There's a place, an island there called Novalia. So when I went there, it's quite interesting. I drove there, and you know, it's kind of mountainous. You got to go up through these mountains and these back roads, you know, to actually get into the town. And I'm like, what the heck? I see all these sheep everywhere. And I can't, there's no lights. I'm turning it on and they're not moving. So there must have been 100 of them. So the town there is Pag, which has a major export where they're known for their cheese. And I guess that's how the cheese is processed with these sheep. And so I'm like really, really excited about this cheese, Pag, because my cousin Jelko, he has what's called a vikendica there, a cottage. And they were famous there for nightclubs and all this stuff. But I wasn't into that stuff. So I go there and I'm staying at Jelko's sister Zlata's place. And I like to have my espresso in the morning. So, you know, it's hilly and, you know, it seems like the hills were bigger as a kid. But so you walk into the center of Novalia. There's a roundabout, the water's there, and then there's this little cafe where you get the espresso. So I go in there and I'm like, okay, I don't get these chances too often, you know, to do these things. And, you know, I'm constantly on the move, so I don't really get a chance to ever relax. And so I go up to the counter and I asked the gentleman there, he's about 28 years old. This was in 2009. I said, do you have, I said, Limaš nešto Englesko, which means you have something I can read in English. Because I speak, read, and write, not that good. It's gone away in that Croatian language. And then he looks at me and he goes, where are you from? Like, I go, he goes, Otkud si? I go, Canada. I figured nobody's going to know where I'm from. He goes, what part? I go, Ontario. So he goes, but where? What city? So I said, Toronto. He goes, where near Toronto? What city? I said, we're in Keswick, my family, and Keswick. So he says to me, he goes, Ti znaš ovaj čovjek, which means, do you know this man? And I said, who? And he says, Nicola Smiciklas. And I go, what? That's my father. That's my father. And I go, how do you know him? He goes, he used to write to me every month. And he would be telling me how proud he is of you and how well you're doing. And I'm like, my father passed away. I'm bawling my eyes out because He had Lou Gehrig's disease, and I can't believe this. Like that this is actually happening. And then I didn't know my dad was, writing to people back home. So I found out more, and he said that my father, when he'd come to visit, would always sit in the same spot where I was. And then, my dad had a personality, and he says, we're going to shoot the shit. And he could just talk to anybody and get along with anybody and everybody. And but on the other side, he was much like myself. He liked mir, which is calm, and yeah, because a lot of times he'd always say to me, "Ni kriv ni dužan," which means he goes, "It's not my fault, and I don't owe anybody anything." And that's what happens. He was a pioneer. He brought his family over, and 8 brothers and sisters as a postliot, which means he gave them jobs, gave them stan, which means he put a roof over their head until they got situated. And yeah, in the end, he wasn't really getting along with them. It's no matter how much you do, you know, for people, it's never enough. And he just said, in 1993, I'm moving to this town, which was in the middle of nowhere, to get away, far away from everybody as possible. And my mother, she was more of a city girl. She'd say, "Kako seroyovo." Which, like, what kind of farm is this? And yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So I look at the age difference. 1936, he was born, and that means he would have been 57 at the time. And the same thing here. I went through a lot. By the time I got to 57, I found a peaceful place, and it's taken me 4 years to build it, just like it took my dad, 4 years to build his home. And yeah, this is amazing how you think you're so opposite of your parent, in my case, my father, when you're so much alike. And, I'd always say to my mother, "Tvoj sin," which means your son is NFG. And you know, he would never acknowledge me as his son. And when you have Lou Gehrig's, you lose your voice, and you can't speak. And it was the day before he died. He loved the rain, and it's going to rain now. And just I had to come up and see him, they said. And just as he passed away, he said, "Moi sin." So he acknowledged me. And that's the way it is with these people back home. They don't show their emotions, but they actually have them. And I didn't know until the end, when he was gone, that he really was proud and loved me. And they just can't show it. And yeah, I mean, they must have went through the same thing. So you have to respect it and understand, and be grateful for the time you had together with them. And I think that's going to wrap it up. I'm going to give the dog a bit of food here. Girly, Bacon, come on up. Come say hi to the camera. You haven't been on today. Come on up. Up, up. Come on 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 up. Okay. Usually she comes up. Ochi shunku, come on up. 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 All right. I love this dog. And malosira, eh? Which means a bit of cheese. And so you had anchovy, shunka, sir. I don't want to give you crackers. I think you're such a good girl today that I'm going to give you some caviar. And nothing toxic here. No, that'll be it. Laku noc, Svenai bolje. Thanks for coming out. And I'll see you when I see you. And don't forget, we have the Ricky Gervais and Anthony Bourdain tribute. Hopefully it's out June 25th in honor of their birthdays. And I just found out also, I have a lot of books and I don't have time to read them, but George Orwell was born June 25th. So we're going to name that episode Croatian Sensation. Croatian Sensation. And maybe I'll change it to Croatian Shunka. Fala, laku noć.